It was about convincing customers that if you order 10 items, you'll actually get those 10 items. Timelines has changed dramatically to the point where a 10-minute delivery is now a baseline expectation.
While instant delivery is exciting for customers, but it's challenging to scale profitability. So what does BigBasket plan to maintain? How does BigBasket plan to maintain sustainability?
So 90% of revenues in any given month come from existing customers. And I think that'll be true for most players in the industry.
With most of the working profession, at least when I order from any quick commerce platform, the only thing is that it's going to deliver me in certain time, and I don't have the luxury of time beyond that. So I'm okay to pay 20-30 rupees more to get it in a certain time.
But what quick commerce has shown is if you provide convenience and if you provide value, you can charge for that, right?
Welcome to FlamCast, Anand. We are very delighted to have you with us today. You have wealth of 17 years of work experience. Can you please take us through your journey?
First of all, thanks Nidhi and team for having me here. It's nice to be here. So I've been working at BigBasket for 10 plus years now. So I'm a bit of a veteran. Prior to BigBasket, I was working in Urban Ladder, one of the relatively early employees there. And before that, worked in education briefly, and before that was in finance for 5 years.
Okay,
that's my background. So finance to marketing, that's the change I've made.
What made you interested in marketing?
So finance was very analytical. I wanted something which was also a little bit creative. So marketing is a combination of the two. So that's why I was interested in marketing.
With 10 years of BigBasket, you must have joined BigBasket early in the growth stage. BigBasket was a pioneer in online grocery, and this category is very fragmented, offline, unstructured. What are the key challenges the team has faced early on?
Yeah, so Nidhi, in the early days, it was about convincing customers that if you order 10 items, you'll actually get those 10 items. Number one. Number two, if you place an order for, let's say, a 7 to 8 p.m. Delivery, you'll actually get it within 7 to 8 p.m. The third was, obviously with online grocery, customers are not seeing the products themselves or touching and feeling the products. So giving them the confidence that, hey, we'll deliver it in the right quality. So convincing customers about those three was the most important tasks. And in fact, one of the interesting ways in which we addressed this was to have guarantees on all of these. So for example, if we were late even by a minute, we would give 10% of the order value in addition to the customer. So things like that. So we had guarantees, and what that meant for us is if we were late or if we didn't deliver the right quality or if we didn't deliver all the items, it would put pressure on us. Right. Okay. So I think that's what we did. So initially it was all about creating the market, I would say. Right. Showing customers that, hey, you can order and you will get what you want. Over time, as the market has evolved, customer expectations have also evolved. So, for example, the expectation on assortment has increased quite a bit. Obviously, over the last maybe 2-3 years, the expectation on timelines has changed dramatically to the point where a 10-minute delivery is now a baseline expectation. Third, there's a lot more expectation on having products that support your lifestyle. So for instance, organic products are a lot more in demand today. Health-oriented products. So I think that's customer expectations have steadily increased over the last 10 years.
Okay. So you talked about basically trust in user adoption early on. So you worked on getting the trust from the consumer so that the adoption becomes easier.
Exactly right.
And did you see a change in consumer retention? Were there people who were ordering once and they were not ordering the second time back in 2011 when you started the operations?
Yeah, so our so one of the things about online grocery, be it in the earlier avatar or today, is retention rates tend to be quite high relative to other e-commerce industries. So 90% of revenues in any given month come from existing customers, and I think that'll be true for most players in the industry. In terms of strength of retention, I think in most in most industries, Nidhi, I think the early adopters tend to have much higher retention. So if you look at the early cohorts from 2010, 2011, they would have much higher retention rates. Over time, as you're getting more of the mass market in, retention rates tend to decrease. But overall, I think online grocery still has pretty good retention rates.
Okay. What is the change you have seen in consumer behavior from the time you started in 2011 versus now 2025, where quick commerce has become a thing and everything is coming in 10 minutes?
Yeah, I think the baseline expectations are dramatically higher today. So I think, for example, 10-minute delivery is like a baseline expectation. Every service has to have maybe 10,000 products plus. That's also a baseline expectation. Third, in terms of policies, return policies or customer service, I think everything has dramatically improved. Very similar, I would say, to, let's say, different sector, but let's say T20 cricket. When it started in 2008 or so, people played in a particular way, but as the game has evolved, people have learned, and the scores, for example, are a lot higher. So I think it's very similar to what's happened in quick commerce.
The shift has been very interesting. I can imagine how quick commerce really speed up the consumer decision making process. Do you think it's a phase which will phase out, or it will stay?
I think what the numbers show, for instance, is that there is dramatic adoption of quick commerce. And I think the reason is we're all leading quite busy lives. There's a lack of time, and this service provides convenience. Right, and from that perspective, I think the service is here to stay. And if anything, there are only new categories going to get added to this industry. So, for example, a lot of the services in the industry have added electronics or medicine or even food. So I think trying out new categories, expansion of categories is probably what will happen.
While instant delivery is exciting for customers, but it's challenging to scale profitability. So what does BigBasket plan to maintain? How does BigBasket plan to maintain sustainability?
Yeah, so I think there are several levers for profitability, Nidhi. And I think all of them have to do with delivering value to customers. So that's where it really that's what ties everything together. So for example, maybe let's just look at the key levers, right? So pricing is one of the levers, and you can only do that if you're delivering high quality products and you're delivering premium products that customers like, and so on and so forth. So so pricing is one lever. The second lever is the share of private label.
Okay.
Right. So in our case, it's 35 to 40% of our revenues come from private label. So private label can't go beyond a particular point, but just
by private label, you mean the in-house label?
In-house label,
like
exactly.
Like BigBasket's own label, the fresh
That's
label
correct.
that comes.
That's
okay,
correct.
Okay, got it.
There is a limit to that. It can't probably go beyond 35-40%, but that also is a pretty useful lever. There are levers around operations as well, which are not maybe too well explored today. So for example, you can bunch orders, etc. I don't know to what extent we can do that, but there are other such levers which will be explored in course of time. Right now, the industry is very, let's say, nascent. So the focus is on delivering a great experience to customers primarily. But over time, there are, I'm sure, opportunities to optimize this.
You have worked in this category from last 10 years. What are the counterintuition you have for quick commerce?
I think the first and most counterintuitive thing is, 3-4 years back, if you would ask people, do you really need 10-minute delivery? Everyone would have said no.
No.
And even to this day, people say, hey, who needs 10-minute delivery? But customer adoption has proven otherwise.
Yeah.
I think that's the most counterintuitive thing. The second is, there was also always this belief or assumption that beyond a very small section, maybe 2-3 million customers, Indian customers are very price sensitive. That was an assumption, and probably it's a valid assumption. But what quick commerce has shown is, if you provide convenience and if you provide value, you can charge for that. Right. So of course, customers are price sensitive, but it's balanced by how much value you provide. I think those two probably are the most counterintuitive.
I think limited time with most of the working profession, at least when I order from any quick commerce platform, the only thing is that it's going to deliver me in certain time, and I don't have the luxury of time beyond that. So I'm okay to pay 20-30 rupees more
Yeah.
to get it in a certain time.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, one thing occurs to me, Nidhi, is I think this trend has been noticed in other industries as well. And take the example of fast food, right? I think the fast food companies know that every few seconds you shave off, or every few minutes you reduce from customer fulfillment time, that really helps increase customer adoption and stickiness. And likewise, even with the cab hailing services, right? I mean, it makes a difference what the waiting time is that you see. So I think it's very similar in quick commerce. Just the compression of time to deliver has really, it has kickstarted this whole thing of retention and stickiness and so on and so forth.
Okay. Okay. So we have already spoken. We know that this online grocery shopping is very fragmented market. How do you make BigBaskets stand out in terms of positioning, in terms of messaging?
Yeah. So actually, our marketing philosophy, Nidhi, is there are really two pillars. One is we want to stay true to trustworthiness. We want to be trusted, and everything we do with respect to either policies or our communication, messaging, all of that. We like to stay to that trustworthiness. So that's the first. The second is, as far as possible, we want to add value to customers. And that's true even in our marketing. So for example, maybe I'll give you an example which might clarify this. So we do email newsletters, right? One of the things we've tried to do there is, hey, we don't just want you to open the emailer. That's not, I mean, we're happy if you open the emailer, but what we also want is, having read the emailer, do you feel that you've gained some knowledge? Right. So, for example, recently we did something on Korean products, right? And we covered the Korean like ramen, and we covered Korean beauty, and we also tied up with the Korean shows, K-dramas. I mean, that's not on BigBasket, but we just made a Korean products newsletter. So it's valuable, interesting to customers. Does the job for BigBasket, but it's also adding value to customers. It makes them smile or it makes them learn something. So I think that adding value and trustworthiness is what we've tried to stick to.
Today, everyone is obsessed with growth.
Yeah.
And people go for short-term goals, then going for long-term goals. How do you keep the long-term goals or brand strategies alive, intact, while focusing on short-term?
Yeah. So I think one important thing, Nidhi, is we keep the long-term track separate in a way, and we have a relatively longer term roadmap for it as well, and I'll explain all of these. And the third thing is the measurement methods are also, or the measurement framework is also relatively longer term. So those are three mechanisms we have. I'll talk a little bit about each of these. So the first thing is the brand thread is a separate thread, so it's not tied to short-term growth. And we are conscious that we want to build a brand, we want to stand for certain things. Like for example, in today's market, we want to improve our consideration, maybe association with 10-minute delivery and so on and so forth. And we recognize that it takes time. It's not something that's going to change in a week or 2 weeks. So ensuring that we have, let's say, an annual budget for it, and we have a plan which is annual rather than weekly or so that's the first part. What it means is the people working on the brand therefore have a little bit of runway, right? They know that okay, fine, I can do this for next 3 months, 6 months.
Absolutely.
So I think that is maybe the first thing. And the second thing is the measurement for brand is also aligned with this. So for example, we use a quarterly brand track. At a campaign level, we measure things on a weekly basis, but what we are after is movements in the quarterly brand track, right? And that's the North Star, and that also keeps the team relatively focused on the longer term.
Okay, so growth marketing is all about scaling quickly and efficiently also. But sometimes conventional strategies like aggressive discounts, giving offers, don't always work. Or have there been any counterintuitive strategies that worked for BigBasket in terms of retaining customers or acquiring new customers?
I think so one of the maybe the counterintuitive thing, Nidhi, is that it's we've tried to be steady rather than do things in bursts. right? So for instance, while we may provide discounts or we may have vouchers and so on and so forth, so everything works in the context of the longer term strategy, number one. And number two, we want to stand for trust. So we don't want to do anything which is which detracts from that. So maybe that's the counterintuitive thing. We try to be a little steady. Obviously, in this industry, you have to be aware of what's happening in the market, because it's very fast changing. So you have to be aware of what competition is doing and so on and so forth. But largely, we have a slow and steady approach to our marketing. That's true for brand and even for performance.
Okay. Anand, you have mentioned trust a lot. Is this something that is required to sustain in this category, or is it something because BigBasket belongs to a parent group of Tata and trust is a paramount for Tata Group?
I think it's a bit of both.
Okay.
I think, yeah. So, I mean, so we have stood even as BigBasket, right? I joined 10 years back. So even from the very beginning, I think it very much stood for trustworthiness. With the Tata acquisition a few years back, that image of trust has got bolstered. As far as the industry is concerned, Nidhi, see, ultimately it's food, right? A lot of it is about food.
Yeah.
And I think there is an element of trust that comes into it. The other, or which helps, I would say. And the other thing I would add is, as you are entering categories like medicine, or when you're entering categories like electronics, I think the need for trust further increases.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's a combination of who we are and what the market requires as well.
Okay. So being in this space of commerce, D2C business, you will have access to a lot of data, consumer data, which plays a very significant role in marketing decisions. So do you have ever had an instance where data leads to unexpected growth?
So data leads to unexpected growth. I mean, I can probably talk to you about how we think about using data in our marketing. And this primarily pertains to existing customers, right? Because that's why you have data on purchasing patterns and so on. So the framework we have is, it's, we call it relevancy, adjacency, and discovery.
Okay.
So relevancy is, if you've, in grocery, it's repeat purchase, right? A lot of what you buy is repeat. Hence, you can always show the same products. So if you bought coriander last week, we can tell you that, hey, maybe it's time to buy coriander, things like that. That's what we call relevancy. The second is adjacency, which is maybe you bought a particular product from a particular brand, and maybe there's a different product from that brand, right? So that kind of a recommendation we call as adjacency, because it's adjacent to what you bought previously. And the third is discovery, where we are showing you products that you've never bought before. And what we've realized is, while we have a lot of data and so on, maybe around 30% of our marketing communications are in relevancy and adjacency, but 70% has to be discovery. And the reason for that is, customer is typically buying maybe 7 or 8 items in a basket.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you take 3 to 4 times shopping in a month, it's probably 30 products in a month max. Whereas your assortment size is 15,000 or 20,000.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of opportunity to show customers interesting products that they may not have bought. So I think discovery is always going to be a big piece. So we are little, let's say, we use relevancy and adjacency, but we limit it to around 30%. That's the way we think about it.
So what would be the main acquisition channel for a brand like yours? See,
in our case, what we've realized, Nidhi, is we want to have, maybe I'll talk about our approach overall to the marketing mix. We want to have a good mix between brand and perf.
Okay.
Brand and everything else, let's say.
Okay.
Right. So we allocate a little, a certain proportion of our spend to brand. So that is part one. Now, within brand also, we have realized that diversity helps. Diversity of channels helps. So for example, Google, YouTube, Meta are obvious, but we've also done, we have branding on buses. I don't know if you've seen it in Bangalore and other cities.
I've seen it.
So that, and we have LinkedIn, and then we have print. We partner with creators. So one of the things we've realized is have a diversity of channels even on brand, and the reason for that is the media environment is very fragmented, right? So for example, many of us might have a YouTube Premium, and so you may not see ads on Google and Meta, and therefore you might see an ad which is done with a creator, or you might see LinkedIn. So I think given the fragmentation of media, that diversification of the brand mix is something that we try to do.
Do you find that traditional medias, like you spoke about, print, TV, buses, outdoor, are still more effective than digital media?
The way I would think about it, Nidhi, is it's not either or. So there is this very interesting, so in fact, for your audience, it may be interesting. There's this person called Dr. Grace Kite on LinkedIn who talks a lot about media effectiveness. And one of the things she talks about, which I really like, is she says the effectiveness of a lot of small things. So you add up a lot of, channels, and that in combination works. So it's not either, hey, is this working or is that working? I think the combination works, and that's the way we prefer to think about it.
Okay, nice, interesting. Personalization is also a new trend. But what point does it stop feeling personalized and start feeling more intrusive?
Yeah, so again, as a brand that cares a lot about trustworthiness, we try to be careful to ensure that A, trustworthy, and B, value adding. So when we personalize, we try to ensure that it's adding value to you. So I think as long as we've done that, it's never been a problem.
Okay. What about hyperlocal marketing? So
hyperlocal is so we do hyperlocal marketing. Firstly, we do.
What are the challenges that you face when you have to hyperlocal?
Yeah, I can talk about that for sure. So hyperlocal. No, first of all, why even do hyperlocal marketing? I think, and where does it fit into the marketing mix? So I think if you're a pan-India player and you're present in many cities, it's quite likely that most of your marketing efforts are going to be mass marketing. And by mass marketing, I mean both brand as well as performance.
Okay.
So mass is going to be most effective. Where hyperlocal marketing or store marketing comes in is, you'll always, so maybe two places, right? One is when you're launching stores. So all of us, all of the quick commerce players have a bunch of stores, right? Hundreds of stores. So when you launch a store, it turns out that it helps if you do a little bit of catchment marketing. So that's one place where it's relevant. The second place is when you have a portfolio of 600 odd stores, some of the stores won't do as well as you'd want. So to bolster those stores, you might want to do hyperlocal marketing. So those are the two places where we try to use hyperlocal. What are the challenges? I think the biggest thing is execution, because it's not like running a campaign centrally sitting in an office. I think it requires a lot of coordination, execution, and the skill sets there are quite different. And it's just day to day coordinating with regions, coordinating with agencies. So execution tends to be quite hard with hyperlocal.
Okay, what about influencer marketing? Content creation has been a discovery platform for a lot of brands now.
Absolutely.
And so I've seen some influencer partnering with BigBasket's also.
Yes.
So please tell me more about it, how you are integrating content creation, influencer marketing in BigBasket marketing strategies.
Yeah, so influencer it's part of the brand mix that we spoke about previously, and it's again one of the elements of the entire mix. And we've realized that having influencers helps. Right now, what have we found with influencers? So one of the approaches is we work with different influencers in different regions. So that is something that we've tried to do consciously. We've also had to try to have coverage of slightly younger influencers as well, the Gen Z influencers. So we have a few of them. So maybe 10% of our impressions would be Gen Z influencers. And third, just figuring out what genres work. Right. In our case, we've figured out that comedy, entertainment is the space that works for us.
You want to operate in it.
Not that we want to operate in it. We've figured out that it works in terms of cost per view and in terms of engagement and all of that. That's the space that it works, because I think this the category is relatively. I mean, it's quite functional, right? I mean, people know it's 10 minutes.
Functional and little. It's not in a funny tone per se. It is little serious.
Correct. So what we've discovered is comedy and entertainment works just fine.
But does it resonate with the brand voice, brand tone of BigBasket as well? Comedy and fun.
I think.
Or we are just marrying it because it's working.
So I think it's a balance, Nidhi. In fact, initially our hypothesis was even, for example, with our YouTube channel, etc., or even Instagram, was we have to stay true to who we are, I think that's obviously necessary, but at the same time, I think you also have to have a balance between that and what the platform requires. So we've hopefully arrived at a reasonable balance between the two.
Okay. Anand, I just, so you spoke about your 10% of the content is made by Gen Z. Why Gen Z?
Yeah, I think one of the observations that we had is our core TG is 35 plus, maybe a little
Which
bit
are
of 25 plus.
millennials.
Yeah, millennials. And probably it'll continue to be as well. But over time, we also want to access, or we want to be relevant to the younger audiences, and hence it's purely what we wanted to do. We wanted to access, or we wanted to reach out to younger audiences. And I think one of the things, Nidhi, is the Gen Z influencers have a way of talking to their audiences.
Of course.
They have quite a nice way, and so we thought, okay, why not reach out to them in their own voice.
So Gen Z and millennials are very different audience.
Yeah.
Gen Z are kind of loyalist if they believe in the brand, and but however, millennials are value loyalist. They are not brand loyalist. So and they are price sensitive. How do you balance the both?
So I think, the reality is you can only have one offering. So I think what we've tried to do is have an offering which we think is universal, right? It works for all segments of the market.
Okay.
So I think that's the approach we have tried to follow. And as long as we communicate who we are, hopefully, even among various age groups, people will self-select. I think that's been our approach.
Okay. What about sustainability? There are so many brands talking about sustainability, standing for something. What does BigBasket stand on that?
I'm glad that you asked that, because just maybe last week we did this living. I'll talk about the campaign because it's so topical. So we did this what we call a living bus shelter, where we took bus shelters in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and probably one or two other cities, and we actually it was a living bus shelter in the sense that we had plants on the bus shelter, like live plants, for a week. And what we wanted to showcase through that, and we also had some messages or information on what we were doing on sustainability. And for us, sustainability is several things. So it's 1/3 of our fleet is EVs. Last mile fleet is electric vehicles. We have solar powered distribution centers in several places. So a bunch of initiatives, water harvesting and all of that. So we wanted to communicate that, but in an interesting and fun way. So we did that. So as far as sustainability is concerned, the interesting thing is, I think our customers also know that this is not something that we are doing just now, right? We've been having a green report where we talk about what we do on the sustainability front for several years now. So it goes out as an emailer, and it talks in great detail about what we do. So we've been doing this for many years, trying to now communicate it in an interesting way, and I think customers are resonating with it as well.
Superb. You have been with the brand from such a long time, early on in BigBasket journey. There must be some campaign, some marketing activity that you would have done that has been a game changer for the brand. Can you talk about that? Yeah,
I'll talk about maybe 2 or 3 of my favorite. Okay. I don't know if it's game changing, but my favorite, and I think all of them in some way are probably they have care at their core, and care and trust and community, right? Okay. So one very interesting campaign that we've been doing is with this entity called IMFPA, which is the International Foot and Mouth Artists. So these are people who are unfortunately they don't have hands, but they paint beautifully with their mouth and feet, right? So we've tied up with them for New Year's, Women's Day, and for Environment Day as well. So we had the idea, and so we have greeting cards made where they're making these paintings. That's one of my favorite campaigns. I don't know if it's very well known, but in terms of the thought behind it, one of my favorites. And it exactly stands for what BigBasket stands for. So that's something that I really love. Maybe the second one is so we have these emailers or these communications where we talk to customers about so we have a direct connect with 10,000 odd farmers, right? All over the country, and we tell customers that, hey, these are what farmers do, and so on and so forth. And sometimes what we do is we ask customers, hey, if you want to share messages with farmers, why don't you share it with us, and then we'll share it with farmers. So that the responses you get are quite amazing. So,
Okay.
and what we do with those responses is we have these collection centers across the country, and we take these messages. The collection centers have like display TVs, and we flash those messages on those TVs, and the farmers can see it.
Wow.
That's again, it's classic Big Basket because it connects the farmer and the customer. It's care, it's interesting, it's innovative. So I think those two are probably my most favorite campaigns.
Now coming to AI. BigBasket has been an early adopter of AI in forecasting and supply chain. How do you use AI in marketing?
So I'll tell you how we are thinking about it. I think maybe I'll take two separate threads, right? This brand and performance, and then talk about what we're thinking of in each. So on brand, typically in a brand campaign, there are the following stages, right? So there's a briefing, then there is first strategy. So strategy is what do you even want to communicate? Then there's briefing, where you tell the agency that hey, this is my strategy and this is the outcome that we expect. The third is creative development, where you're working with the agency and there are storyboards and pre-production meetings and so on and so forth. And then there's the creative itself. So there's 4 phases. So we try to use Gen AI in all 4. Okay. With different levels of Gen AI usage in each of these. But for example, one of the things we did recently was whenever we write a briefing, we asked Gen AI, hey, can you make it more inspiring to the agency? And what you come up with, it's quite interesting. It does make it more inspiring. The other thing we are trying to do, and we've not made too many strides, but let's say storyboarding. So sometimes what happens with agencies is, just being on the same page with respect to what the output might look like. So you have PPMs, pre-production meetings, etc. But there's probably a way to use storyboards even in the midst of that process, so that the gap between what your agency is thinking and what you have in mind are minimized. So we are trying to do that as well. On the performance marketing side, one of the realities with performance marketing, Nidhi, is the more the creatives, the better, because most of these algorithms are automated. So just generating a variety of creatives, generating volume of creatives, both statics as well as videos, is something that we're trying to do on performance.
Do you think AI will fundamentally change how people discover products on your platform?
So honestly, I don't know. I think there are, but I can talk to you a little bit about the ways we are thinking about it. I think one of the ways AI can help is in recommendations, right? Okay. As you were speaking previously, there are 10,000, 20,000 products on a platform, and customers can only they typically buy only 7 or 8 products in a shopping in an order. And therefore, how do you show the relevant products? I think AI can help with that. The second, but having said that, I think the thing that makes us wonder is the app experience is already like really fast, right? I mean, we want to place an order on quick commerce, it's quite fast, right? Already. So what is it that generative AI can add to it? Is something that we're trying to figure out. The other place, interestingly, is on SEO, right? And there what we're finding is probably 20 to 30% of the crawls on our website are now from the Gen AI bots, from the AI bots. So the likes of an OpenAI or so on and so forth. So those now account for 20-30% of the crawls, but in accounts for very little traffic. So a few thousand visits in a month is probably what we get. So it looks like a lot of this is going towards training. And we're not getting a whole lot of traffic right now, so it's not entirely clear. What we have seen, however, is stepping away from the quick commerce industry or e-commerce. I think where discovery or where traffic has got affected quite a bit is informational websites. So let's say coding websites or travel websites. I think there is an effect, but e-commerce, quick commerce, so far not so much. So we'll wait and watch.
I've seen, moving on, mixed reality is transforming how brands engage with customers. Do you see mixed reality or immersive tech playing a role in grocery shopping or brand storytelling?
Yeah, I think, Nidhi, this mixed reality gets very interesting in some of the new categories in quick commerce. So something like an electronics, or fashion particularly. I think we all probably saw the Google I.O. with, I mean, it's quite amazing what they're able to do for fashion. So I think that's probably where I see mixed reality becoming very interesting. In fact, on BigBasket, we had I don't think you can call it mixed reality, but we had like a 3D sort of a store a few years back. Right, so where you could, it was like trying to replicate a physical shopping experience within the app. We tried for some time. I guess we couldn't exactly figure out where it added value to customers, so we eventually didn't have it. But I'm sure for some of the new categories, it could help in discovery or even in conversion and trial and so on and so forth.
What are the top metrics that you track beyond sales number?
So right now, Nidhi, one of the key things we are looking at is consideration. Okay. So consideration and in our case, association with 10-minute delivery as well. So more broadly speaking, the mind metrics, right?
Then anything else? And engagement. People go for engagement.
Yeah, we
brands.
do. So so it depends. So maybe I'll cover the way we think about. It may be helpful for your audience. So as far as brand is concerned, we look at it at 4 levels. So one is input metrics. So which are things like are your creatives meeting guidelines? So we have tools for that. So even when you put these creatives in, are they meeting guidelines and things like that? So if you have committed to a certain number of outdoors in a month, are you actually meeting them? So just ensuring that the inputs are fine. So that's the first level. The second is at a campaign level. So when you're running digital campaigns, etc., you get metrics like cost per view or brand lift studies and so on and so forth. So that is the second level. The third level is mind metrics, top of mind or consideration, etc. We are right now focused a lot more on consideration because the top of mind awareness, since we've been around for a while, is already quite high. Consideration is where we need to work on. The fourth is, sales, new customer acquisition. In our case, we can also track brand searches on Play Store. So that's also something that we look at. So we look at it at these 4 levels.
What is one consumer insight that has surprised you and challenged you as a marketer?
I think this whole thing of, people wanting to order in 10 minutes is like, it's still counterintuitive. It's already happened, but it's still, remember that this has not happened in any other country, right? At this scale.
No.
Not at all, not by a distance.
No.
So I think that, and the fact that 10 minutes versus say 20 minutes or 25 minutes materially changes retention rates.
Yes.
It's still very counterintuitive.
Okay. How do you see next 3 to 5 years of BigBasket? How the category will change?
I think, Nidhi, so 2 things will happen. One is customer expectations will increase. So from the existing offerings, better and better and better in terms of quality.
Like 1 minute delivery?
No, I don't mean that. I think 10 minutes is probably as good as it gets. But in terms of excellence, quality, assortment. So I think all parameters on the existing offering. And second, I think there'll be a lot more experimentation with new categories, right? And right now, I think we're all keeping just an open mind because, it's good to just keep an open mind. I think the good thing in this industry is you can try out a lot of new things. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Who cares, right? Yeah. But I think important thing is to try out new things and maybe some will work and some won't. So I would expect, I don't know what the categories are, but you'll see an expansion into newer categories beyond just groceries.
Now moving to our fun segment, which is Flam Fire Questions.
Sure.
What is that one marketing myth about grocery e-commerce that you would love to bust?
It's, grocery is actually quite exciting. It's actually quite exciting. And I think the reason for it is there are lots of new things that you can try and you can get feedback quite quickly. So I think just it's actually a lot more exciting than one would think. Okay.
If BigBasket could market one futuristic grocery product or service, what would it be?
Futuristic, I don't know, maybe, I think people are really, people are trying to improve their health. So anything that magically improves one's health probably would be pretty cool.
Complete this sentence. The future of marketing is grocery is?
It's unknown and exciting.
Thank you so much, Anand.
Thank you.
Thank you for such an insightful conversation.
Thank you.